Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the first inclination of What's Your Why? A show that I'm going to be doing separate from the retro cartoon rewatch that focuses on the why people do what they do, either for a career or for purpose, or even where they are currently in their existence, as I am consistently interested in what people do. So before we start the show, I just want to preface this is not the retro cartoon rewatch. This is a separate issue. This is a separate show, a little wrinkle I've thrown in. But we will be right back. And again, this is not the retro cartoon rewatch. I'll explain more when we come back. So be back in a bit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode one of What's Your Why with Damien G. As you can see down at the bottom of the screen, find me on all your social media platforms at Damien G Show. For a lot of you who may know me, who are watching this live, either on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or the like, you could find it at Damien G Show. This is not a retro cartoon rewatch. For those of you who normally follow my programming, where I take cartoons from the 70s to the 2000s, this is not that. This is me, something new I'm trying and getting back to my broadcast roots. For those that don't know, I have worked in broadcast and radio on and off for about 6 years now. And I wanted to go back to my broadcaster roots and take it a little bit more seriously because I'm always fascinated with the way people live their lives according to their why. That means basically what gets you up in the morning, what gets you doing the best you can every single day, what motivates you, what is your purpose. And I intend to do that with everybody at least maybe 1 to 2 times a week. I already have a list of people who are lining up to tell me their why. Either here or on Big Gold Belt Media, who I do this in affiliation with. That's my family. Those are my friends. And you can find us there at Big Gold Belt Media on YouTube, as well as Damon G Show on YouTube, Facebook Watch, Twitter, and the like. So, what is this show going to be? It's basically, as I've said, it's going to be people explain to me in a series of interview questions, very round robinish, where I discover why they do what they do, be it for a career, for purpose, or just for life in general. Because we all have a story. We all have some sort of thing that motivates us to want to live the life we live, no matter what that is. Hopefully positive, but you never know what someone's story can kind of lead you to. And I hope to inevitably inspire people to find their whys while I do this show and why I do these interviews. Me personally, I hope to use this vehicle to not only understand other people's whys and get to know them on a different level than just if I was watching and reacting to cartoons and trailers and things like that, that I do in my other walks of broadcasting and content creation. And deep down inside, I kind of am using this for my own personal development. For those that don't know, I also have worked as a clinical therapist in psychology and counseling, focusing mostly on youth therapy and youth counseling, also dabbling in loss and bereavement counseling. So I've worked with people who have dealt with the dealings of loss, as well as counseled many a youth in my over decade to 15-year career in trying to just help people get from point A to point B. Or as I used to say, point A to point C, because B's too close. I'd like them to go a little bit farther than point B. But I know for me, what I'm trying to really accomplish is I'm in a very interesting part of my life. I'm in a transition. I am questioning a lot of things. I'm questioning a lot of things within my existence, within my own life and personal development. And I want to use this vehicle and this outlet to basically find out what is my new why as opposed to previously, which we will get into. And my first interviewee, actually, I decided was going to be me. I was going to use myself as a guinea pig and test run for the Finding Your Why or What's Your Why series here with Damian G. And it's going to be just me telling you guys certain things that I'm going to be asking other people potentially and getting a little background on me, because I know a lot of people may not know my story in my broadcast career. A lot of people may have known me in a different walk of life when I used to cover professional wrestling. They may have known me in a walk of life when I covered sports, as my on-air training is done through the Broadcasters Mentoring Group, where I owe my mentor and teacher, Dan Schwartzman, a big debt of gratitude for helping me get to this point in my career where I can kind of use my therapeutic techniques as well as my broadcasting skills to further not only my career, but to dabble in different things. So that's a little background with me. Again, for those who are just tuning in or who will watch this on the replay, this is not a cartoon show. I will do another episode of that either later on tonight or tomorrow, but this is episode 1 of the new endeavor. So I'm going to start off real softball, real easy, because I just want to give everybody a once over about me, the person that they're going to be talking to, or the person they're going to be interviewing with, to give you all a modicum of a vision of what this is going to entail. So one of the questions I potentially am going to ask someone is, how did you come upon your career that you are currently in? And I know for other people, it could be a myriad of things, but this one is strictly for me. So as I said, my career has taken me as a therapist, a life coach, a youth counselor, job developer. I've worked in many situations in the human services field. Formerly, I used to work in marketing and advertising. When I left college, originally, I've been a jack of many trades, so to speak. But how did I come across this current career, this current I guess, edition of Damien. So I've been a human services, pretty much a lifer. And by human services, I mean working with fellow humans in, like I said, a myriad of capacities. I found this career actually by accident, to be quite honest, and it was unintentional because I used to be a resident assistant in college. And at some point during that time where I did it for about 2 to 3 years, and I had clients. See, they were already my clients without me realizing they were clients. I had residents knock on my door to basically just talk, to talk through life, to talk through just things that were weighing on them, almost as if I was some sort of priest, where you kind of do confessional. I was that guy that people would confess things to, knowing that if they got it off their chest, that I wasn't going to share it with anybody else, because I'm not made that way. I'm not made to take someone's most intimate secrets and kind of use it against them as some sort of bargaining chip. So I found this by accident, and I wound up being this pseudo dorm psychologist and therapist while I was a resident assistant. And a friend of mine basically said, dude, you should be getting paid for this because you make this obvious. Prime example, my first job ever, I was working at a video game store in New York City. And it became less about selling video games and commission sales and more about using gaming to kind of understand people on a different level. I've had these clients and customers that would come in and just tell me about their lives. Sort of how like a bartender kind of just hears everything from people unintentionally. And it's almost like being a de facto therapist or a counselor. So I was using that former job, working for Funco Land before it became GameStop, as a means to just get to understand my customers better, or just understand them on a different level. And the amount of people that would come in, not even to buy games from me, but to basically just vent and use that time to just basically get things off of their chest. And it came naturally. It wasn't something I was doing the proverbial Dr. Phil of, well, tell me more, or, that's interesting. I personally hate that. A lot of people who know me know I hate when therapists and counselors use the, that's interesting way of counseling, because I feel like there's no humanism to that. It's very cut and dry, paint by numbers. And that's never been something, that I've done. So going all the way back to when I was 19, 20, doing that without even realizing I was helping people in some way, shape, or form. And another thing about my why is this why came about because I just wanted to help people. For those that don't know me, who or may know my story, I grew up homeless, in and out of homeless shelters. We moved around a lot in New York City. We did the couch surfing thing. We lived in homeless shelters, transitional housing. There's been days where I slept outside, to battle the elements. There were days where we were squatting to survive because we were poor. We wound up losing a lot when I was younger, my family, and we kind of got scattered to the four winds. And I vowed that I would never allow a youth to go through the life I went through, which explains why, if you know where I work now, and I'm not going to tell y'all, you understand why I'm working with that particular population. Again, so how did I come across, this? That's exactly how, by unintentionally trying to help people without realizing I could get paid for it. And people will ask me, hey, Damien, what are some of the best parts of your job or best parts of your career? And I say, listen, helping people is one thing, but making a profound difference on someone's life, be it for something so inane or, something so benign as just listening to them, or just kind of counseling them through just a tough time, or just being a shoulder to cry on without judgment. Because I feel that, in this time we live in, there's a lot of judgment going around, and there's not a lot of humanism. There's not a lot of empathy. I feel as if in today's society, there's not a lot of trying to understand for the sake of understanding, more so than for the sake of argument. And that's just my little 2 cents on that. My career path was sparked, like I said, by accident. My story, as I've told people, that's just what I wanted to do. I want to help people realize their full potential. I know that sounds very coach speaky. That isn't my intention, and that never was my intention, but that's the easiest way I can kind of explain that. A rough bringing overall, living in low income neighborhoods after we got situated. I'm even blessed to even be at this point. I tell people all the time, I don't even know how the hell I got here to this point, because if you would have asked me when I was 15, 16, or even 10, 11, I thought I'd be dead by now. I thought like I would fall victim to life and to life's pratfalls and potholes. And I haven't up to this point. I'm still here. I'm here because I feel as if there's something out there that I'm trying to find a newfound purpose on what I'm doing here. And a lot of my really good friends have been trying to understand me a little bit better as I go through this new journey. And some may say, hey, man, you should have figured it out by now. And a lot of people, know ahead of time. 10 years ago, they might have known what they wanted to do. But I am of the variety that if something does not resonate with me, I'm not going to do it, even if it's for a lucrative amount of money. If my heart's not in it, I'm not in it. So something people have asked me in the past is what's something that stood out to me about my career? And I always say that I'm still in it. My actual life experience, is used to help people. And that's what I wanted to do. If you would have told younger me that I would have been wearing these types of hats for work, being, an administrator in the nonprofit world or in the educational world, I would have laughed at you and said, yeah, right. Because I never thought for a million years I would be in a position of leadership. Because I often used to say I am the dumbest guy they ever gave a master's degree to. And, there are days where I still stand by that because I can be goofy as fuck. I can be juvenile. I can be all these things because I'm human. I'm not going to try to be something I'm not. I'm going to be authentic. And that's one of the things I use in my career to help anybody. And a lot of my clients will tell you, be it from life coaching, be it from being a therapist or counselor, I don't like to bullshit them. I don't like to lie to them. I don't like to let them live in a world of non-accountability. I want them to participate in their own rescue. I want them to understand that, sometimes their stubbornness or their way got them to the point where they have to come see your boy. Myself included. I have been guilty and I have allergies. So if you see me doing this in my nose, it's because I have nighttime allergies that I'm still getting used to since the seasons changed. Anything that I've learned from my career that's really stuck with me is another question people ask me. And I say, the thing that I really take with me is that you can't help everybody. You can't help everyone even if you wanted to. And I learned that early in my career. I was that person that if you asked me when I first started in my 20s, what would I want on my epitaph on my tombstone? I would say, here lies Damien, try to save the world knowing you couldn't. That's changed a little bit. Now my whole thing is I like to use a baseball analogy in that if you get 3 hits out of every 10 at bats, you might be considered a Hall of Famer. I know it's a low number, 30%, but in the helping profession, you shoot for 100%. And if you get 30, 3 out of 10, I like to count that as a win. Now, a lot of people would say, like I said, that's a little too low. That might be a little too low on the spectrum of the helping scale. But that is how you maintain your sanity. That is how you maintain a work-life balance, because sometimes you can't take the work home with you, or you shouldn't. A good majority of us do that. We take the work home with us, and it can kind of wear on you. Like I said, I've been doing this officially since 2004. So almost 20 years I've been doing this kind of stuff. Some of my most proud accomplishments that fill me with the most happiness and pride, walking people through suicide attempts. As a person that's had 2 suicide attempts in his life, the thought of being able to talk somebody off the proverbial ledge and giving them the hope that they so desperately are looking for, to find that hope within themselves, that's something that will always mean a lot to me. Talking people and getting them to see that them not being here would be a detriment to not just the people that it would affect, but it would affect them. Seconds of people who have been seconds away from saying, Damon, enough's enough. I can't deal with it. I want to jump. I want to do this, that. I want to take all these pills. And the fact that I've been able to, de-escalate these situations, maintain my calm. And this isn't me patting myself on the back. This is me just realizing that I have had an impact, even though I deem it as no big deal. That's one thing about me you'll understand. I no sell everything. I downplay a lot of stuff that I do. I don't celebrate a lot of the things I accomplish because for me, it's no big deal. It's just part of me being human. So if I help someone through a dark path or a dark time, if I encourage people, inspire people, I'm doing my job as a human, as a person, because I feel that's what I'm here for. I'm here to basically be here to support as many people as I possibly can. And it may seem symbiotic, but it gives me strength to do that as well. Someone has also asked me, hey, Damon, what's something that you hope to do with your career in the future? Well, if I'm being completely honest, I intend to leave the human service field completely one of these days, or just use my story or my life to inspire people on a grander scale. Now, I'm not talking about Tony Robbins type work. I'm not talking about unlocking your inner potential and things like that. I don't got the energy for that. I don't have the panache to be able to do that for 20,000 people in a room. But if I can do that on a 1-on-3 level, 1-on-1 small group session where it inspires other people and et cetera, they pay that forward. Be it talking on podcasts such as this, speaking engagements, which I've done a lot of in the last maybe 2 to 3 months, where I have a lot of speaking engagements where I meet with the public and talk to them about current situations going on, the DFW. I just want to keep reminding people that there's hope, no matter what or no matter how small we think the hope is, that there is definitely a way we can find a modicum of hope. And I'm not trying to come at people with the Gary V way of, like just working through it and cussing and all that other stuff. Like, I don't get super pumped up. You're not going to get me be the rah-rah person. I'm not going to be the entertainer. When I work with people, I'm honest. I am upfront. I am, like I said, I am almost to a degree a little too blunt for some people, but I am authentic. I'm not going to bullshit you, and I want you all to find your authentic selves. What would I advise those pursuing a career similar to mine? Another question I've asked people before in my interviews: to temper your own expectations in life. It's okay to set goals. It's okay to set these grandiose goals. Look, I have a gold notepad right here that I look at daily that I'm trying to accomplish, that I'm working toward. But I'm realistic in what I can do as one singular person. Not everyone's going to be receptive to your methods or yourself or to your message. Don't take any potential losses personally. Failure is good because it means you gave it a chance, and then it gives you a chance to pivot. The proverbial statement of, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, you might as well shoot your shot 2022 and see where you wind up. Or as I've heard, or either I've heard or I've said, shoot for the stars, maybe you'll land on the moon. And it sounds hokey, but it's true. Shoot as high as you want, but don't be afraid to fail. But be authentic with people and yourself. People can smell bullshit a mile away. In my career, youth especially, the kids I've worked with, the youth I've worked with, and I've worked with, kids as young as 5 to as old as, in their mid-20s. And I call them kids because of my age. And they can smell BS. Humans can tell when you're being disingenuous. That's why I like to say, I'm not the Dr. Phil type. I'm not the one that's going to blow smoke up your butt. I'm not going to say, interesting. Tell me more. Or how does that make you feel? That's one of the ones in therapy I can't stand. How does that make you feel? Yeah, occasionally I'll tell you that, but because I really want to know, how the fuck does that make you feel? If you have some animus towards someone and you tell me the reason why you have this animus, and you're bringing it up and you bring up a memory, I want to know how that memory triggered you. What about that memory? What about this thing we're talking about fills you with such fire How does that truly make you feel to hear the words I'm telling you or to think of the things I want you to think of? That's kind of how I work. Have I always wanted to do this in my career? No, I have not wanted to do this in my career. To be quite honest, if it was up to me, I would have gone to broadcasting school sooner. If it was up to me, I would have went straight away after high school to broadcasting school. I wouldn't have gotten into marketing. I wouldn't have gotten into psychology. I would have went straight, boom, into broadcast journalism. Because in high school, I was part of the journalism team. I have met and interviewed many people in my life, and I have found many stories. And I knew from an early age that I didn't want to be in corporate America. I didn't want to do the 9 to 5, even though currently I have something of a 9 to 5. But being a broadcast journalist was always what I wanted to be. And in some ways, shapes, and forms, I've done that. I've accomplished that goal. As I've said, I am a freelance podcaster, radio broadcaster. I've been on New York radio as well as DFW radio. I do commercial reads. I do these interviews on behalf of myself, Big Gold Belt Media, or other media entities I have worked for. I love it. I love talking to people. I hate hearing my own voice. That's one thing you're going to understand about me is sometimes I can't re-listen to my old stuff strictly because I can't stand the sound of my own voice. Even though all of you who have known me and known my work say, Damon, you have a distinct voice. It carries. It has gravitas. Look, man, I just sound like me. Some days I'll sound like a prim and proper broadcaster. And some days I'm going to sound straight up like a New Yorker. And then some days I'm just not going to care. But that's kind of the things about me that I wanted you all to know as I go into this foray about what's my why. So what's the bottom line here? What's my why? How'd I get here? There is a young kid out there. There was a young child named Damien who self-loathed a lot. Didn't see the value in himself. Didn't see the value at an early age, thought he was useless, thought he was stupid and dumb, and that he would never amount to anything because he was a fuck up. And do you know how demeaning that is for me to say that about myself when I was 8 or 10 or 11, 12, even at 16 to still have these thought processes? And that's my why. Is because I got to do this for that kid, for the 8-year-old me, the 12-year-old me, the 16-year-old me, the 23-year-old me who at one point thought the world was going to destroy him because I was not prepared for life. I thought living my experience where a lot of people said, hey, Damien, your life's been traumatic up to this point. Do you not know that? That was chaotic. For me, it was Tuesday. It's that simple. So for me to have to talk through this and walk through this, for him, it was normal. A life of chaos, a life of self-doubt and self-loathing and self-hatred. I do it for that person. I do it for that version of myself. That is my why for now. But sometimes I can't do it for my old self. I got to do it for me. And then there were times I would do things just to piss people off and prove people wrong. The amount of people who have doubted me and the things I could accomplish because either A, they thought I was too stupid or too slow because I have a few learning disabilities when I was a child. I did it. I've done everything I've said I was ever going to do in some way, shape, or form. It may not have been to the magnitude in which I thought I was going to be doing these things, but I've made my way. And I'm not done yet. And when I do this show, when I get to understand everyone's why, I want the people to understand, the audience to understand is that, hey, you're not done yet. Be it 16, 26, 47, 52, 92. My dad is in his late 80s and I love my father, and he's one of the people that inspires me to be the best version of myself daily because he's probably the kindest guy I've ever met in my life, one of the kindest humans I've ever known. And he's still trying to figure things out. and there's no shame in that. There's no crime in that. I have a lot of people who are in their 50s who are starting new careers, who are basically doing complete 180s from things that they were doing, be it from being an engineer to being a nurse. Like these are the kinds of people I come across every single day, or people who I know have been homeless or addicts, and they're doing things that are so amazing and so inspiring that if they can change the lives of themselves, they can do it for other people. And I think that's the biggest thing I want to get across with this show is that's the why. That is the why. The why for me is because I need to see where my journey takes me. I want to see where I end up, because a life of mediocrity to me does not sound good. I didn't overcome everything I did to get to this point to be mediocre. Now, some people may say that's a little harsh. Sure, let it be harsh. But for me, it's important. For me, it's important. I need to know why I'm on this journey. And maybe that's what's going to be the end all be all end result of me doing this. I'm going to figure it out along with you all as I get to know your stories. I get to know your passions and your whys. So that is what I want to accomplish. And that's pretty much a good time for me to end this, because I don't want to keep bloviating and talking about myself, because I actually don't like doing it. Little personality quirk about me. I don't like to talk about myself. I'd rather listen than talk. Go figure, as a broadcaster and as a therapist. But I'm going to end it here. This has been episode 1 of What's the Why. If you want to get in contact with me, right there, social media, Damon G Show, all across the board. That covers IG, that covers Twitter, that covers Twitch, as well as Facebook. Normally, I'm doing retro cartoon reaction shows, but this is a different take, and I'm going to be returning to my broadcast interviewing roots. So again, if you want to contact me, if you have a story you want me to tell your story, you can do so by contacting me right there. So I'll see you next time on the next episode of What's the Why, and get ready. We're going to get a lot of different stories, a lot of different whys. Welcome to the team. Can't wait to talk to you all.